What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. However you're watching, however you're following the Ben Garcia Show, consider subscribing, consider leaving a 5-star review, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify for free, on the iHeartRadio app, or you're putting a face to the voice and you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate that as well. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, maybe even tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. They might love us, they might hate us, but either way, they're listening, they're watching, and that's all we want here on the Ben Garcia Show. Just be able to share our sports opinions to those who will listen and to those who even won't listen. Either way, coming up on the Ben Garcia Show, let's get right to it. Our top story, and it takes place right here in Phoenix, Arizona. So as I've told a lot of you before, and most of you know, but I keep on reiterating it because we are a growing channel here. 1,400 subscribers now in the Ben Garcia Show. In about 8-9 months, it has been a grind. It's been awesome, but here in Phoenix, I cover the Arizona Cardinals. I cover the Arizona sports teams. So yesterday, I was out at training camp practice, and for those who are not able to go to those practices because you're not a media member, you're just a fan, which is all great and dandy. That's my job to report to you. Training camp is very simply, it's fun. It's kind of luxurious to be able to stand on the field and get a first-class look at these players, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr., whether it's Kyler Murray, whoever it is on the Arizona Cardinals. Let me just paint you a picture. First, there's Jonathan Gannon's press conference, being available at that. You can be. That took place beforehand. And then you go out onto the field, you watch the practices, but the only thing you can record and the things that you can observe and tweet about and report about are only the first 20 minutes of practice. Basically, when you're in the Cardinals' house, you play by the Cardinals' rules, which is totally fair. They want to save a lot of that content for themselves. I get it. That's just how the media world works. But for the first 20 minutes, you can record, you can post about it, you can report about what's going on Twitter, social media, whatever it is. So yesterday when I'm at Cardinals camp, the first thing you're looking for is where's Marvin Harrison Jr.? Where is Marvin Harrison Jr.? And at first, he wasn't out there. It takes a second for him to come out in the field. You immediately notice Marvin Harrison Jr.'s presence. As a Cardinal fan, as a media member, it's kind of hard not to look and wow at the presence of Marvin Harrison Jr. Not only is that a big dude, man, he's long. He has all the characteristics to be an elite wide receiver in the NFL. He has no bust. After getting a close-up and personal look at Marvin Harrison Jr., and I know you can only report on the first 20 minutes, but I stayed for the whole practice, being able to get my eyes on him, he looks good. Marvin Harrison Jr. looks really good. He looks the part, he looks big, and he is a mesmerizing presence for the Arizona Cardinals. And that's kind of what I'm doing here in this segment, is just painting the picture for you, what I saw, what people will see as they go out on training camp, the things that are reported upon. And that was the first thing. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a real deal dude. I mean, he is a physical presence. It is tough to miss that guy. It is tough to look out in the crowd and for him to blend in. He was that guy. Other takeaway. Kyler Murray looks bigger. Kyler Murray, obviously he doesn't look tall. He looks like an average height human being. But for those that come after Kyler Murray's height and Kyler Murray's stature, one of my superpowers in this business is being able to take the fanboy glasses off, being able to take the media fanboy glasses off. I can do that. I can be very unbiased, sometimes to a fault. Kyler Murray looks just like any other NFL player. Yes, he's a little shorter, sure. Greg Dortch is out there playing wide receiver. He looks kind of small, but we know that he's like a muscle hamster and just bounces off tackles. That's exactly what Greg Dortch does. That guy plays like he's 6'4", which is why he's the only real wide receiver on this team who's under 6 foot that's actually going to play. But Kyler Murray, he doesn't look small. He looks like he belongs in that presence. And the way the ball zips out of his hands and the way that we've seen him progress over the offseason, the maturity, the growth, Kyler looks really, really good. I would not be surprised if this is Kyler Murray's best year as an Arizona Cardinal. I would not be surprised if Kyler Murray surprises a lot of people in the NFL landscape because a lot of people have already written him off as being a miss or a player that has no chance of succeeding in the NFL. I know he's a little short, but Kyler Murray looks like a real deal dude. And he's been locked in, and he's been more mature. And everything that I've seen from Kyler now on the field and off the field since last season is not only are Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray going to be a connection, but Kyler Murray's going to have a great year. And watching that Drew Petzing offense last year, I'm even more sure of it now. And that takes me to my last point from what I saw at Cardinals training camp. There's just a sense of maturity with this team. There's just a difference between the Cliff Kingsbury era and the Jonathan Gannon era. You know, we heard Jonathan Gannon speak before practice yesterday, and just a calmness to him, just a leadership presence to him. And like I said before, just the overall confidence that this team's going to win games. This team will never be terrible under Jonathan Gannon. Doesn't mean Jonathan Gannon's going to be the head coach forever. But with this regime, with the way that they do business, they will never be an incompetent franchise ever again, as long as they keep these guys. Now, will there be seasons that they miss the playoffs? Sure, competent franchises miss the playoffs all the time. Whether it's injuries or whether it's just a down year, they are a team that at the very least is competent. And that's one of the few things that I have to see from this team. And hearing Sean Murphy-Bunting speak yesterday, hearing Max Melton speak yesterday, hearing James Conner speak yesterday. James Conner is a leader. He knows his role in this team. He doesn't care about how many yards he gets. He just wants to win. Sean Murphy-Bunting brings a real maturity to this team, not just a maturity off the field, but a maturity on the field. He knows what it takes to win. He's been on a Super Bowl championship roster with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then finally, Max Melton. Keep your eye on Max Melton this year. Keep your eye on that second-round cornerback out of Rutgers. That's a guy that I was into when they drafted him. But hearing him speak, hearing the confidence, he has all the swagger to be a shutdown corner in this league. Again, it doesn't mean he will be. Doesn't mean he's going to be Patrick Surtain 2.0. But I believe the floor for Max Melton is at minimum this year Sean Murphy-Bunting. And if you add Sean Murphy-Bunting and Max Melton to that equation, who's already a historic leap over Marco Wilson, it's a huge jump for the cornerback room to be incompetent as it was last year to a possible middle of the road strength of this defense. I was very impressed with what I saw from the Cardinals yesterday, and just an overall giddiness and energy to want to be out there. That is what I wanted to see from day one from the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'll be out there more often. You can hit me up with questions in the comments section. I respond to everything. You can message me in DMs at Ben Garcia Show. Find me on any social media platform. I'll look out for the things that my subscribers want me to see. But overall, a fantastic training camp for the Arizona Cardinals at day one. I'll be out there periodically, every so often. If you have questions, I would love to answer them. If you want me to look out for something, I will. My first feed is you, the subscribers. But overall, those are my takeaways. Marvin Harrison Jr. is huge. He's a presence, and he's going to at least be, at minimum, very good in the NFL. Elite, that's hard to tell. It's hard to tell until we see it more often play in regular season games. Max Melton is going to be, at minimum this year, a Sean Murphy-Bunting with his confidence and swagger and the overall praise he's gotten from players on the field. Sean Murphy-Bunting is mature. James Conner is a leader. And Kyler Murray does not look like he used to, both physically and emotionally. And overall, that is a great thing for the Arizona Cardinals. The Dallas Cowboys now have a clear issue on their hands. CeeDee Lamb is sitting out right now. CeeDee Lamb has contract disputes with the Dallas Cowboys, and this is a major issue for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys offense last year, outside of course the quarterback Dak Prescott, was CeeDee Lamb. If CeeDee Lamb is not in the fold with this preseason, is not in the fold with what's going on. That's a real issue. Michael Gallup just retired. Sure, Jake Ferguson emerged as a candidate, as a pass catcher, a very good one for the Dallas Cowboys. But losing Tyron Smith, losing Michael Gallup, who, yes, wasn't amazing with the Dallas Cowboys, but he's clearly not there anymore. We knew he wasn't going to be from the get-go. He signed with another team, but still, he's gone. Subtract that from the fold. Ezekiel Elliott is back with the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Pollard is gone. The running back room is not as strong. We expect Deuce Vaughn to have a bigger role this year. The Dallas Cowboys, as much as I believe in their competency, because I know that oftentimes there's a doubt of the Dallas Cowboys because of their playoff failures. But during the regular season, this team is very competent. Dak Prescott is a good to very good quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's elite. But if he doesn't have his number one pass catcher out there, we've seen the stats for quarterbacks when they lose their number one wide receiver. Stats drop. And we've seen Dak without Amari Cooper. We've seen Dak without CeeDee Lamb. He's pedestrian, and I don't think that's necessarily his fault. This is a team that needs weapons badly and are kind of hamstrung with multiple issues now. Micah Parsons' contract is coming up. Dak Prescott wants a new deal. His contract is coming up. And now CeeDee Lamb. Noisy off seasons almost always lead to disappointing regular seasons. Now, the Dallas Cowboys have not been super noisy, but this starts rattling the cages a little bit. And CeeDee Lamb's got to be out there, whether it's just mentoring other players, whatever it is. And then you have the report that the Cowboys are prioritizing a deal with CeeDee over Dak Prescott. These news stories come out, and it's basically, is this Dak Prescott's last year with the Cowboys? If they're prioritizing a deal with the wide receiver before Dak Prescott, you immediately think their season's over before it begins, because if you're prioritizing a wide receiver before a quarterback, kind of tells you think you don't have the right quarterback. And that leads me to my second point. I think it is all but over for Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is a swan song. I believe that they're frustrated. I believe that they think that Dak Prescott has taken them as far as they can go. In the regular season, we've seen the statistics. Very good quarterback. Postseason, 2 playoff wins in his lifetime. 1 against the Seahawks, 1 against the Buccaneers, and after that, it's a lot of struggles. And Jerry Jones ain't getting any younger. This is a guy that wants to win a Super Bowl at least one more time in his lifetime. The pressure's starting to mount. It's a pressure cooker over in Dallas. Jerry Jones knows he's got to make a change soon. And when I see that they are hastily trying to figure out the CeeDee Lamb contract dispute, which at some point just gets confusing because just pay the guy already. It's not like you're going to trade him. The Dak Prescott narrative is slowly growing as well, whereas if they don't have a quarterback next year, what are you going to do? And that's the caveat to although I think it's Dak Prescott's final year with the Cowboys because Cowboy fans and Cowboys media and Cowboys front office all just think we got to get rid of this guy because we're not performing. You got to have a succession plan ready for Dak Prescott. And it's not Trey Lance. We know he's not good. We know he can't play. So the Dallas Cowboys have a couple of new stories rising to the surface here, whether it's CeeDee Lamb's contract, Tyron Smith is gone, Micah Parsons is going to want a contract soon, Dak Prescott needs a contract soon, Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat. And now if Dak Prescott doesn't get his deal and if they're prioritizing a wide receiver over a quarterback, that tells you all you need to know. That tells you what they feel about Dak Prescott. He's fine. He's good. We're ready to move on. And if that's the case for the Dallas Cowboys, you better have a succession plan ready. You better have someone ready to go. Because Trey Lance is not that guy. And you're not going to bottom out enough this year to draft a quarterback. Now, are you going to send in a bunch of picks and move up? That's a potential too. But these things are starting to mount for the Dallas Cowboys, in which I've been shown that I am an Eagles, if you ask fans, hater, but I'm a skeptic of the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this division is ripe for the taking for the Dallas Cowboys because of their competency, because of their quarterback play, which was really good last year, and their ability with that quarterback, wide receiver, CD, Dak Prescott connection to make things work and score points. You add that defense into the fold that was very good in the regular season last year, pinned their ears back and got to the quarterback. I believe in the Dallas Cowboys' competency, although people relate their playoff struggles to their competency when those two things don't coexist. You start adding up all these issues, it does become a bit incompetent with all these stories rising to the surface. So the Dallas Cowboys, with all these issues, have a lot of clear things to fix before the season starts. And it just goes to show you, if they're prioritizing a wide receiver's contract over a quarterback in which they don't even have a succession plan in place, that tells you what they think of their quarterback. And it leads me to believe their season is over before it really begins. Finally, some more training camp stories. It's so fun to have the NFL back, and even if it's just training camp, have all these stories out. But we've covered the Brandon Aiyuk issues. We've covered the Brandon Aiyuk contract disputes. We know he's holding in. For those of you that don't know, holding in is basically being at training camp, but not partaking in anything. Jordan Love is doing this, and now Brandon Aiyuk is doing this. And now adding to that list, holding out, which is not showing up at all at training camp, Trent Williams. I know San Francisco 49ers fans don't want to hear this because they've been invincible outside of Patrick Mahomes for the past couple of years. Trent Williams holding out is a massive liability to the San Francisco 49ers. What's the one thing San Francisco 49ers media members and fans are humble about? Their offensive line kind of stinks. It's very average. I'd say even pedestrian at times. Trent Williams has all the leverage. And Trent Williams, who's due to make, I believe, $35 million in year 38 of his life, is now asking for a raise. His base salary this year is second in the NFL at $20 million a year, second only to Jordan Mailata. The 49ers had all their focus put on. We got the Brock Purdy contract in the future, but we got to figure out this Brandon Aiyuk deal now, or are we going to ship him off? Now you add to that fold Trent Williams. That is a scary sight for 49ers fans. Trent Williams, I had a 49ers fan tell me the other day, well, hopefully he's a team player and they figure it out. Trent Williams, I don't mean this in a bad way towards Trent Williams, because get your bag, man, has never been a team player. Make no mistake at the contracts that he's had the past couple of years. Those were front-loaded with signing bonuses, and I understand his base salary wasn't a lot because they were trying to lower the salary cap, and you do that by front-loaded contracts, converting it into signing bonuses, and Trent Williams has done that. But not to mention, when he was on the Commanders, he held out all the way until the trade deadline one year. This guy cares about his money. And if the 49ers, who have now had what I'd said before, noisy off seasons almost always lead to disappointing regular seasons, when you add the Ricky Pearsall's on PUP, three guys, Brock Purdy, who's had injuries before, Deebo Samuel has had injuries before, four guys, Christian McCaffrey, who's had injuries before, and George Kittle, who's had injuries before. Really, the main three, the big three of those guys, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey, have all had major injuries, who have all missed time before. You add that story, along with the Brock Purdy contract coming up next year, along with Brandon Aiyuk's contract disputes, which have been very loud, the Trent Williams contract disputes, which are now massively loud because that offensive line is not very good. It's pedestrian at times. Dre Greenlaw's coming back from a torn Achilles. Ricky Pearsall is on the PUP list. At some point, noisy off seasons do lead to disappointing regular seasons. Now, the San Francisco 49ers have a lot of depth on their team, and they have a clear coaching advantage in almost everything with Kyle Shanahan. I'll ask this simple question. Are the San Francisco 49ers slowly on the road to being the most disappointing team in the NFL this year? Trent Williams is holding out. Brandon Aiyuk contract dispute, which has been loudly documented. Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle have all had injury concerns. The defense at times was abysmal last year. and then you add the Ricky Pearsall's on PUP, these are some of the issues that are mounting for the San Francisco 49ers. And this is clearly the last year for the San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl juggernaut. This is the last dance. You got Brock Purdy's contract coming up in a couple of months here. You're going to have to give him $50 million. And I understand San Francisco 49ers fans have just thought money grows on trees because that's what it's felt like because you haven't been paying your quarterback anything. Brock Purdy's going to get $50 million. You don't have a choice. They are going to have to figure out the Trent Williams contract because you cannot afford for him to be gone. And then Brandon Aiyuk. You're not keeping all three. I'd argue some of the guys you might have to cut. I believe this is George Kittle's last year with the San Francisco 49ers. That's a guy they're probably going to have to cut next year. That's a cap casualty. Brandon Aiyuk, I don't think they're going to allocate $30 million to him. Trent Williams, we'll see what he's going to do there. You're going to keep around Christian McCaffrey. But Brock Purdy's been a very good soldier, and that contract is looming. This is the last dance for the San Francisco 49ers. This is the last dance. I know money hasn't existed, but that Brock Purdy contract is coming up quickly, but quietly. And that's going to be $50 million a year minimum. This is a guy that didn't make any money in his first contract. He's got to make some of that up. Trent Williams is holding out. Brandon Aiyuk is holding in. The 49ers are starting to have a money problem. You can't just continue to convert everything to a signing bonus. Are the 49ers quietly flailing? Are they on the track to potentially be the most disappointing team in the NFL? Noisy off seasons almost always lead to disappointing regular seasons. This Brandon Aiyuk thing, this Trent Williams thing, at first the Brandon Aiyuk thing was just like, okay, we're going to figure it out. Ricky Pearsall goes on PUP. The first clear domino to fall in this alarm-ringing system that is the San Francisco 49ers, Trent Williams. You cannot afford to not have Trent Williams on your team this year. And San Francisco 49ers fans know it. San Francisco media fans know it. And San Francisco NFL, everyone knows it. And this offensive line without Trent Williams could completely be catastrophic to the San Francisco 49ers season. When you combine all these things with as well the potential for a Super Bowl hangover, we know that's a thing. It's hard getting back to the top of the mountain again. The 49ers could quite possibly be a quietly flailing team in the NFL. And potentially, with all these stories, with all these issues, with all these things coming out of the woodwork, potentially be the most disappointing team in the NFL this season. Thanks so much for tuning into the Ben Garcia Show. We appreciate you listening, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, for free, on the iHeartRadio app. Don't forget to put a face to the voice and watch on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe there. The Ben Garcia Show is running hot and heavy recently. I'll be at Cards Camp later on this week. If you have questions, you have a comment, put it down there. I'll respond to everything on all social media platforms as well at Ben Garcia Show. I appreciate everyone for the success of this show that has been over the past 9 months. And I'm Benjamin Garcia, and until next show, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.